Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ash. Well, not really, my name is Eric, but I'll get to that. I go by Ash, and I started collecting comics back in the late 80s with X-Men 210. Such a cool cover on that. It's one of my favorite covers of all time. And X-Men is my favorite comic of all time. I bought and collected X-Men from 210 all the way until it's actually beyond the Jim Lee era and the new X-Men, and not terribly long after that the comic crash came and I just moved on to different things. But I loved what X-Men was doing, and I loved Marvel. I was a big Marvel fanboy, and the 90s were the golden age of comics. And I've been absent for about 20 years. And it wasn't until it was about late last year I ran across a YouTube channel, Diversity in Comics, that I'm sure if you are on discover this channel, you already know what that is. And run by my boy Zach. And he got me back into comics. I mean, not solely, but he was the biggest contributor by far. His passion for what was going on is it's just infectious. And comics has always been a dear, sentimental passion of mine. I mean, you'd say, well, how can that be? You're gone for 20 years. And it's like, yeah, well, I mean, you get out of things and you find other things. It doesn't mean you lost your love for something else. It just means you had something else kind of occupying your interests. And there's lots of things that I like and enjoy, but comics have a special place that nothing else has ever really accomplished. So anyways, his passion got me really rekindled my own flame of what I loved and wanted to immerse myself again. Unfortunately, when I came back, I discovered that the comics industry is a mess. And it took a while to get to where I am today because you should know it's terrible. And I'm a Marvel fanboy. I never liked DC. I thought DC was pure cheese, cornball. I liked Batman enough and Superman. I mean, those are iconic characters. I think everyone has a special place in their heart for those two. But I don't know, man. I used to think Wonder Woman was so dopey. That's the name Wonder Woman. My attitude has changed now, but Aquaman, it's just such a silly name, Aquaman. Oh, and he talks to fish. And, keep in mind that I had a biased, prejudiced viewpoint. I'm not trying to knock DC, and as a matter of fact, you're going to find the opposite. But suffice it to say, I was prejudiced Marvel fanboy, and I'm all about my X-Men. And X-Men was my gateway to other comics. I used to be a big Iron Man fan. I love Thor, primarily the Walt Simonson run of Thor back in the day. Oh, fantastic. I liked Punisher, Daredevil. Speaking of Daredevil, Frank Miller is my absolute tops favorite writer of all time. His run on Daredevil was phenomenal. His run on Batman was probably even better. And so I love Marvel, and I just could not see myself loving anything else. I did love Image. Well, I was an Image fanboy in the day, and because I was a huge Jim Lee fan, and of course I liked McFarlane, I liked Eric Larson, Silvestri. I mean, he was the X-Men. He was the Jim Lee on X-Men before Jim Lee, and so yeah, I followed them over, and they were basically doing the Marvel way, just their way. Well, not their way. I mean, they're doing the Marvel way with their style and not confined to the Marvel characters. And unfortunately, that disintegrated because it was just a bunch of super egos and guys that never really thought about the business. But that's a whole nother topic of discussion. I still love those guys. Well, Eric Larson's off the deep end, but I love those guys, and that's the kind of comics I liked. And so DC just wasn't it. So fast forward to today, I'm getting back into comics, and it's like, oh, geez, Captain America's a Nazi. Iron Man is this woke black girl who's a sociopath. Thor is Jane Foster. What the heck? The old Thor is now unworthy. There's like, last I counted, there are 7 Wolverines running around. Just about every character is going, gay or lesbian. And it's just this whole diversity movement is just off the chains. And it kills me because his Diversity in Comics puts out, he makes clear all the time, and it's something that, I fully agree with. Comics have been diverse. My favorite comic and the most successful comic of all time, X-Men, was led by a black woman. And no one batted an eye. There was no, conspiracy of white boys going, oh, screw this, We just enjoyed the comics. We didn't care. As long as it was cool, that's all that mattered. The problem with today is they're not doing it to be cool. They're not saying, oh, we got a great idea. They're doing it because got to have quotas, got to have enough black people, got to have enough other ethnicities, got to have enough gay people, got to have enough trans people. Look, make the character cool. The ethnicity shouldn't matter. It's... Anyways, I'm not going to get into that right now. This is just supposed to be an introductory video about me. So, like I said, my name's Ash. My real name's Eric, but I go by Ash online. So it just felt suitable to go online with YouTube as Ash. It also lets me use my favorite avatar, which is that super awesome John Bolton Ash art from the movie adaptation. And since I was using that name back in the 90s when I was into comics, and now I'm back into comics, I just felt it was suitable to use, kind of, bring that back. I got these 2 comics in front of me here, Batman and Batman White Knight and Immortal Men, just because, it's something nice to look at. But also to talk about, these are the kind of the books that got me back into comics. Batman White Knight is just phenomenal. The Sean Gordon Murphy. I haven't been as excited about a creator probably since I discovered Frank Miller. It's high praise, but this guy did something amazing with this book. And it's Batman, which is, of course, iconic. Double-edged sword, because, you've got a great character that people love, but you also have a great character that people love, so don't screw it up. And he doesn't. And I think he is doing, for Batman, unfortunately in a miniseries it's not in continuity. Maybe that's the only thing that separates my analogy here, what Jim Lee kind of did with X-Men. Not that X-Men needed any help, or even Batman doesn't need any help, but it's just taking it to that next level where you're just like, wow, this was already great. Now it's unbelievably great. And then I have Immortal Men, because speaking of X-Men, which is something that I love, I find it ironic that DC is doing a book that's basically like, hey, we're going to do our version of X-Men. This is how we would do X-Men. And, you might say, oh, well, wait, it's not like X-Men. There's no mutants and da-da-da-da. Okay, you're right. It's not a clone of X-Men, but thematically, it shares a strong resemblance. Their base of operations, if you would call it that, is called the campus instead of the Charles Xavier School of Higher Learning. The main mentor leader of the group is the Immortal Man, and the team's called the Immortal Men, and instead of Professor X and his X-Men. so you kind of you have that, and you have this, you know, dark history of these group of immortal men, this group of people, which is not mutants, but they have kind of an analogous comparison, you know, in the fact that they are a group of people going back to dark times, which, you know, the X-Men, their lore kind of evolved in that with the whole apocalypse and things like that. So suffice it to say, Jim Lee doing Immortal Men, it's like X-Men. It grabbed me, and I'm real excited about this book. I have very high hopes for it. I'm rooting for it to succeed. It's not a perfect book, but it's very intriguing, and I think I'm going to do a review of it. So, this is my channel. This is what I'm doing. It's inspired by guys like Diversity in Comics, Ethan Van Sciver, who is someone I admire very much, both as a comic pro, but also as a YouTuber and a person. And even though he doesn't know jack about Star Wars, and then a lesser known YouTuber, but I think needs some more attention, in Trajan. If you haven't watched his videos, Ethan plugged him to me, and that's how I discovered him. And this video and what I'm kind of doing that got me to do a YouTube video is very much kind of inspired by him. So I may end up copycatting people like those three. But you know what they say, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. I'm not trying to be those people. I'm not at all thinking I can be the next Diversity in Comics by any stretch of the imagination. I just want to share with you the hobby. I just want to talk to people, and YouTube is this great tool that allows me to talk to anyone in the world, essentially. And I can watch their videos and share in the conversation. I think one of the great things about comics isn't just reading the comics, it's sharing that enthusiasm, talking about what you read with others, seeing what they thought. I love watching other people's videos that talk about, the books and so forth. So hopefully you like what I'm doing. Please comment, give me feedback. I'm a total noob at this, so I don't expect anyone to praise my YouTubing skills by any means. But I'll try to get better. And like I said, I want to have something to share and talk about. So hope to see you in the comments. Hope to see you in more videos. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.